Here we go. Spoiler alert, audience. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Jason Show. Oh, look at that little zoom. For this Monday, let me look at the date. I never know the date anymore. July. Everybody, the days seem the same. The 20th, July 20th, 2020. I'm Jace. Welcome to the show. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good morning. I am, because for the first time since the end of February, beginning of March, I can look right over here to my left and say, please welcome Kendall to the show.
Hi.
She's here. It's not an android. She's actually human. She's alive. She's here. How you doing?
I feel like I should give you a 2-second delay just so that's because that's
it seems natural over the last few months.
Yeah, I can like interrupt you a little bit while I'm waiting in my 2-second delay.
I know.
I'm good. It's so nice to be back. I can't lie. I had like Sunday night, Monday morning jitters last night before bed because I haven't been in 4 months.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, am I going to remember everything? Is everything going to be set up right? It's been fine.
We had a moment this morning. There's a moment in the opening title of Laverne and Shirley where they both open a door and they slam into each other and then they smile and look at the camera. We had a moment like that. I haven't seen you, and I'm not joking, in 4 months. We both opened the makeup room at the same time, and there you were. It is, my point being, it's a delight to see you again. I've missed you. It's just not the same having you via satellite from Uganda or wherever you were.
Wherever
I mean, it seemed
was.
like with the delay, but it's really good to see you.
Thank you.
It's good
you too.
It's good to have you back here in the studio. So, did you have a good weekend?
I did, yeah. I did go down to Red Wing. We had fun. We went
Or as
to the
I called
beach.
it, Red Cross.
Yes,
Yeah.
Red Cross. We went down to Red Cross. It was really fun. I mean, so hot, so we just kind of sat at the beach most of the day. But it was good to see the family and stuff. Did you get to play pull tabs?
I did, I know, and I love, it's proof that people actually do watch the show, because I got busted, not busted, but the family vetoed me on Thursday. I heard there was going to be no playing of the pull tabs this weekend, but we actually went. So I went down to Pine Brook, and I met this lovely woman named Mary Kay, as in cosmetics. And she came up to me, socially distanced. She was very respectful, and she was so nice. And she was, this is my husband. And she goes, I have a story. I have a pretty weird story. So she was married. I think she got a divorce, or maybe she wasn't married at all. It doesn't matter. She went to her high school, her 40th high school reunion, and met an old friend of hers, an old high school acquaintance. They fell in love and got married.
What?
Because of their 40-year high school reunion. Yeah.
Crazy.
It was great, and she was such a nice lady, again, at the Pine Brook there in Princeton. And yeah, they fell in love after 40 years. And
That's
found
so like Nicholas Sparks novel. Like 40
Yeah,
years
but
later.
actually good.
Oh my gosh, The Notebook doesn't like you either.
Oh, The Notebook is the only good one. The rest are just dumpster fires. The only good one is The Notebook. That's it. Yeah. He was here. He was lovely, but they're all the same. I mean,
But he's never coming back.
was he? I think
All
he
this
was
book's
nice.
dumpster fire.
Oh, they're all the same. You know, a bottle floats up. You open the bottle, and it's like, I love Jessica. And then Richard Gere goes to find Jessica.
Oh.
Then Jessica has like 2 months to live. And then you know, the dog dies, and then Jessica dies, and then Richard Gere's sad. Every movie of his is about death, either of a human or of a pet. So it's, yeah.
When you put it like that, no wonder you think it's dumpster
No,
fire.
I don't like any of them, but no.
Depressing.
But to Mary Kay, hi, sweetheart. Thank you for being kind. I just thought it was such a good story and proof. Good can come from a high school reunion. Rarely. It's time for the hot dish, everybody. Let's get going. Looking at myself in the monitor, I think I needed to put on a higher SPF. I
think you look good.
I look like a tater tot that's been in Jeff's air fryer a couple minutes too long. Yeah, I just realized that anyway. Let's get started. There's going to be a new season of Big Brother sometime this summer, and according to our friends at TMZ, the all-star cast and crew will live in a bubble, more so than they usually do on this show. The crew, this is no joke, everyone, the crew will live in RVs by the set and be 1 month on, 2 weeks off, followed by 2 weeks in quarantine. Now, the average season lasts 3 months. While the crew doesn't interact with the cast, they still enter the house to bring in supplies, make repairs, bring in new sheets, set up competitions. Now, it's unclear, though, when we're going to see this because, but this makes sense. It sounds like they're doing it safely. I mean, if there's going to be a show that can happen during the quarantine, it's Big Brother. Think about it, because they don't come into contact with anybody else.
Well, yeah, I mean, because they can just make out with each other and yell at each other and spew all their germs at each other and nobody else will get anything. I think what's funny about this whole press release is that they're like, the crew does have to go in to fix things, like change a light bulb, fix the sheets. I'm like, can these people do nothing?
Well, no, you don't, but it's all insured. You don't want, Susie from Utah fixing the video screen, on the set.
I do.
No, you don't want that.
Oh, yes, I do. It'd be so entertaining.
And do we know what's going to happen to Julie Chen? Is she going to have to be quarantined? Ted, do we know? Is she going to? We do. Stand by. We do not know. Ted said we don't know what's going to happen because she doesn't know. Ted watches the show. I don't. Julie really doesn't come into contact with them unless they're booted, right? So maybe she doesn't need to be quarantined.
Okay.
But if you're married to Les Moonves, don't you really want to be quarantined for a few minutes? Yeah.
Snap.
Hashtag
Cute
Mervy
applause.
Pervy. I loved you, Les, and then you became all Mervy. Next in the dish, Nick Cannon still reeling after anti-Semitic comments he made last week. And while some media companies have cut ties with him, some are still sticking with him for now. Viacom, speaking of CBS, CBS announced they were ending the relationship with Nick, canceling his improv comedy series on MTV because, Viacom owns MTV. Wild and Out. He was scheduled to have his own talk show this fall, but that has been pushed back a year. Debmar Mercury is the studio behind the show. They also do Wendy Williams. And they say they hope by delaying its launch a year, he will be able to use his talent and platform to entertain, enlighten, and unite his audience. That is ripped right from a press release. Wow. Nick will still remain the host of the upcoming season of The Masked Singer here on Fox, our network. Fox has not cut ties. I've been thinking a lot about this. When the story broke, we didn't do it that day because I know this shocks some critics, but I don't always like to just flap my gums if I don't know exactly what he said. And something as serious as a star making anti-Semitic comments, I want a formed opinion before I come on here and blah, 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 blah. My general feeling is this. I'll be very blunt. I'm disappointed in Nick. You've heard me say it. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. He was here. I'm a fan of his. He was one of the nicest in-studio guests we've ever had. He was good to the crew. Anyway, but here's my feeling. If we're going to fire people, if we're going to get rid of them for racist comments, shouldn't the same standard apply to anti-Semitic comments as well? I mean, I know, conversations like this are very nuanced, especially for a show like this. That's why we tend to stay away from them because we can't give them the attention they deserve because it's not always clear. There are layers. It's nuanced. But for this, it just seems like, there's been a lot of people recently in the recent reckoning that have lost their job, understandably, for past racist comments. Shouldn't the same standard apply? Your thought?
Right, I agree. And it sounds like, I didn't listen to the whole podcast, granted, but from what I've read and what I've heard, it wasn't just one comment. It kind of went on several times.
Yeah, and he agreed with some comments that he's regretting. And I get, because I've mentioned it here, shouldn't an apology be enough? Yeah, you do got to take that into consideration. When did he make the apology? Is it a sincere apology? You do have to offer people grace. I've also said that. But there also has to be consequences too.
Right.
So next in the dish, Alex Trebek was on GMA this morning. Oh, this was such a good interview. This is such a cliche, but it really was Mr. Trebek like you've never seen him before because Alex doesn't get real emotional on Jeopardy. Well, he's talking about his battle with pancreatic cancer and got really emotional when talking specifically about his beautiful wife. Look at this.
Do you use that word burden with your wife?
Yeah, I've used that.
And she says what to you when you
She
say
says you're not a burden. She's a saint. But she has so much goodness in her that she is always giving out, always putting out to help me get over difficult moments. And there have been some difficult moments. I'm just in awe of the way she handles it.
Well, that's where I started crying. Alex says this experimental treatment appears to be working. Doctors like his progress. He hopes to make it to February, where he will mark 2 years of cancer survivorship. Now, Jeopardy, his job, is expected to resume taping in a few weeks. The new season premieres in September. Any of us, Kendall, and I'm sure some of you watching, sadly, a large chunk of you have been touched by cancer, whether directly, indirectly, maybe 2 relatives away, a couple degrees of separation. I thought about Cappy and my mom when I was listening to this, because one of the last conversations I had with my stepfather was, it was a sad day for him. He was kind of down, and he battled cancer, for people that maybe aren't familiar, and he felt like a burden. He said that to me. I don't want to be a burden on your mom, and I said, you're not. You're not. She loves you more than anything, and taking care of you is now. She had a whole control operation. I mean, it looked like a war room for a battle. But I said, you're not. She loves you more than anything, and that's what the wedding vows. Till death do us part, in good times and bad. So
absolutely, he did this interview, and he's also written his autobiography now. And he did it because someone else was going to write his story, and he was like, I want to tell my story. And it sounds like he is a much more open, social, warm guy than you get to normally see. So it is good to see him like that. And
the interviewer noted he loves his job so much. Whenever he mentioned Jeopardy, the interviewer, Alex, his whole posture changed. And it is a great job. Can you imagine? That's a wonderful job in broadcasting. We love you, Alex. We'll see you in September. Still ahead today, everybody, we're going to show you how one comedian is doing stand-up comedy in the pandemic days. Plus, drama on the set of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. What one of the cast members did that made for a very awkward reunion. I'll explain. And then, do you believe in UFOs? Well, today's guest does. He was featured in a great episode of Unsolved Mysteries and will join us later to talk about his unbelievable experience. That and more when we come back.
Can stand-up be performed virtually via Zoom? I suppose, but nothing beats the in-person experience. But how? Well, last Sunday, in the parking lot of a horse track in New Jersey, I performed my first drive-in stand-up show.
This is my first one.
That's right. I performed stand-up comedy to close to 1,000 cars. People were sitting inside the cars or socially distanced on top of their roofs. Was it ideal? No. Were the laughs as loud? Definitely not. But it was a show. And for a couple hours, through my jokes, and through the flicking lights and the faint laughter and the beeping horns, a community was built. Did that community look like a traffic jam? It sure did. But I'll take it.
Comedy in the age of the coronavirus. Welcome back to the show. Jim Gaffigan, love him, fellow Hoosier, on CBS Sunday Morning, talking about his return to stand-up. Let me go to the Jason Show fan club chat. They chat live during the show. It's like a report card. People are liking our blue today. They said we should be standing next to each other. We can't. We can't really do that.
Funny, everyone.
Yeah.
Funny.
Nancy and Kathy and Anna Marie, hello. Well, speaking of drive-ins, I got to tell you, my friend Dawn McLean went to the Valley. What's it called, Jeff? The Valley High drive-in. And she said it looked like Field of Dreams. You waited like 3 hours for the Empire Strikes Back. I think I'm going to go.
Yeah?
I'll do a little story. I haven't been to a drive-in since I was a kid, and they used to put me in the trunk to save money. My parents were young and kind of poor. So to save money, they would pull over right before they got to the entrance of the drive-in and put me in the trunk, and then they didn't have to pay for me.
Not there. Don't worry.
We'll do that again. They'll put me in the trunk now. Again, hashtag we didn't care about kids in the 80s. On Mondays we get a special serving of hot dish all the way from Hollywood. Give it up for Brad from TMZ. Hi, Brad.
Hey, good morning, Jason. How are you?
Doing well. This was one of the top trending items all weekend. Kanye launched his presidential campaign. I thought he was out, but then it's still happening, and he had an event, and that event has a lot of people concerned. What happened, Brad?
He was out until he officially filed these docs with the FEC, and now we've seen the results of that. Last night, he held his first rally in South Carolina. At points, he was arguing with the audience. Other parts, he was crying. He shared his views on things like abortion. And talking with sources close to Kanye and his family, a lot of people are concerned. A lot of people are upset with some of the things that they saw last night. They feel that he's in the middle of a mental health episode. Of course, Kanye has very publicly struggled with bipolar disorder in the past, and they think that this is just a clear example of that. He's a grown man, obviously. He needs to get help. They believe that, but it's up to him to make that decision. Not only are they afraid of that, but Kanye has a lot of big deals with a lot of big companies, including Adidas and a new deal with Gap, too. And he went after those companies last night, too, demanding that he be on the boards of these companies. So those around him are afraid that he may torpedo some future business endeavors if this kind of continues.
If it is a mental issue, I hope he gets the help, man. Some items, let's switch gears. Some items for Marilyn Monroe's final photo shoot are hitting the auction block. I can imagine they won't go cheap, Brad.
You've imagined correctly there, Jason. So this is her final photo shoot. Her final major photo shoot was about 6 weeks before her death, and she did it with legendary photographer Bert Stern, and it's called The Final Sitting. And in it, she's wearing this faux pearl necklace, some faux pearl earrings, and they're about to hit the auction block. But like you said, not going to be cheap. It's going to be about $50,000 for the earrings, about $8,000 for the necklace. And of course, they're going to be auctioning off the camera that Bert used as well, because at one point during the photo shoot, she grabbed the camera from him. He took out a spare, and she used it as a prop as well. So big Marilyn fans, maybe it's a museum or something like that, can get their hands on some pretty unique items here.
Yeah, and looking at those, it reminds you, A, how beautiful she still was, and B, how young she was when she died. She was in her 30s. Right. Finally, Washington's football team obviously needs a new name. And this one dude, he trademarked a bunch of likely alternatives. What's the story here?
He did. So there's a man who he calls himself the trademark hog, and he grabbed about 10 different names, including the Red Tails, the Federals, the Generals, just a bunch of stuff there. And we spoke with him on TMZ Sports and said, look, a lot of people think you did this as kind of a money grab for the team, where they're going to be left with no other choice but to kind of pay you for these trademarks. He said it couldn't be further from the truth. He said, look, I've emailed the team. He actually showed us proof of that email where he reached out early July and said, hey, I've gotten these trademarks for you guys. If you want them, they're free of charge. He just wants to see the team renamed.
Free of charge? I don't know, Brad.
Maybe some tickets, maybe something there.
Maybe a little hat or something. Brad, have a good afternoon. Thank you, my friend.
You too. Thanks, Jason.
Search TMZ.com for the latest, and you can catch TMZ on TV. Check your local listings, as they say. I was at a horrible dinner party once. I won't say who hosted it, but it was so bad, Kendall. This is where you ask, how bad was it?
Oh, how bad was it, Jason?
I was willing to cut off a finger just so I could leave to get medical attention. That's how bad it was. It was horrible. The only redeeming thing of this dinner party was I met this guy who kind of did that. He gobbled up, but not trademarks. He gobbled up URLs of, this was in the early days of the World Wide Web. So he trademarked things like Cooks. I don't know this.
Like Target.com.
Something like all of these things.
Right.
So he made a pretty penny off. I can't remember a couple that really was like, Joker.
I could totally see that.
By the way, that's a reference to the 70s and 80s game show Joker's Wild, now brought back by Snoop Dogg. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Snoop Dogg has it on TBS. I don't know if it's canceled, but yeah, it was a good show. Next in the dish, drama on the set of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and it surrounds a possible love affair between Brandi Glanville and Denise Richards. Here's a clip from the trailer for the second half of the season, then I'll explain more on the other side. Look at this.
Denise and Aaron have this whole open thing. Brandi, I to her, woke up the next morning. She said, Aaron can never know this. He'll kill me.
What the? That is not true.
I believe Denise.
I was supposed to meet up with Denise, and she's a no-show. I've been calling her, nothing.
I hope to God she's okay. My heart is racing. I'm like really scared.
Lisa Rinna, you are the bad guy in this movie.
Please do not air this. It's very bad.
Bravo has a choice. If they ever want me to be on the show, they need to cut that.
I think it's a lesson learned.
Oh, I learned a lesson.
Yes, you have. Okay, let me explain this. Okay, here we go. For you non-housewifers.
You're going to have to reel back this up for
It's
me.
easy, and this is why we're doing this story, because it's juicy like a piece of chicken. The stars filmed the reunion last week, and it was apparently long and very awkward because Denise Richards reportedly sent the women, and some people are even saying the network, a cease and desist order to stop them talking about this alleged affair. So some of the women took to social media to say, well, the order worked because it was the weirdest reunion in years. Rinna was a little more harsh. She said it was bleep. The reunion took 15 hours to film.
Because they couldn't say certain things?
Yeah, here's my feeling. And I really like Denise. You can go back in our tapes. I said it. I loved her. She was a refreshing a person in her first season. But I will, Bethany Frankel always says this. If you're going to don't do a reality show if you don't want the good, the bad, and the ugly of your reality shown. I think it is a little disingenuous and a little like, really, Sophie, to be shocked that not pleasing aspects of your life will be shown. And then to send your co-stars a cease and desist because you don't want something out, you should have thought of that before you allowed Bravo into your life.
Okay, I just want to back it up just a tiny bit just to make sure I really understand this.
Beep,
so Denise and Brandy had an affair with each other, allegedly.
Yes.
And now Denise is saying, if you're going to talk about this, we'll sue you.
Yes. I don't want any of my co-stars talking about this.
Okay.
Which is just, then don't do the show. Then don't go on the show. There's been far worse things said about all of the Housewives. Don't go on there. I love you, Denise, I do. But it's just whatever. Next in the dish, it's hard for celebs to keep a secret these days. Well, see the story we just did. But somehow, Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel, I guess they did it. The couple reportedly welcomed their second child. A friend confirmed the news to the Daily Mail. The two have been holed up in their Montana farm with their 5-year, I should really say a ranch, with their 5-year-old son. They haven't been photographed in public since March. And Jessica has avoided all full-length pictures for several months. This picture is from Jessica's birthday in early March. Yeah, I mean, look, you can piece together. I mean, they used to do this with pregnant stars on TV. When they didn't want you to know they're pregnant, they would have you do all your scenes behind a lazy boy recliner. But so maybe, hey, I got to give them, I give them first, congratulations.
Right.
Number 2, bravo to you. In this age of social media, where there is a camera in every bush and behind every piece of fence, for you to keep this a secret, that's fantastic.
I can't tell if it'd be easier or harder to keep it a secret during the pandemic. Easier in the sense that you don't have to go anywhere, and so no one's really thinking it's weird you're not out. But harder in the sense that everybody's trying to find everything else out because we're all bored.
We're all bored and just wanting some,
Right.
Especially when you're trying to do a show like this. We need more celebrities with secret pregnancy. So
please,
if you're watching celebrities, please have some babies. Thank you. What else are you going to do? Still ahead, everybody. We're talking UFOs and one man who says not only did he see one, but was abducted by it. He's part of the new Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix that I'm loving, you're loving, we're all watching. We will talk to him live when we return. Back in a moment, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Well, a few weeks ago, I named the Netflix reboot of Unsolved Mysteries the best thing ever. Oh boy, is it ever. And one of the episodes I loved the most had to do with a reported, I'm just going to say, to me it happened. It had to do with a UFO experience in the Berkshires area of Massachusetts. Dateline, 1969. It was Labor Day when dozens of people said they saw a UFO, including one man who was just 10 years old at the time. Look at this.
And I was running full speed, and I remember just feeling like I was flying at this point.
And he was like running right here in place, just constantly for about 5 minutes. He was running in place.
I was running, but I wasn't moving. I just got a feeling that something was wrong. and I didn't know what it was, but it just gave me chills. Off to my left, there was a rock, and there was a path, and we were right on the path here, and the rock was just off to my left. And as I turned slowly, I turned, and a UFO dropped right out of the sky right in front of me, and a beam came on me. And as the light was on me, my hands jerked back like this, and it's like air got sucked out of me.
That's Tom Warner, who was featured in the Unsolved Mysteries episode, talking about his abduction, his experience. And we're thrilled to have Tom join us now via Zoom. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, and good morning, Fox 9 News and your program here. And I want to thank you for all having me on to talk about this incredible day.
No, I got to tell you, thank you. I reached out. Let me rephrase that. A friend of yours reached out to me. I was talking about this on my radio show and how this was one of my favorite episodes. I want to kind of pick up, Tom, where that clip left off. You described, well, let me back up actually a little bit. What made you go outside? You said it was a feeling, right, Tom?
Well, actually, it was actually mental telepathy. And I was actually coloring with my neighbor, Debbie. And it was mental telepathy, and it said, you have to go home now. And I looked out at the clouds, and I said to Debbie, Debbie, that must be God talking to me from those clouds. And she goes, what? I said, I have to go home right away. I mean, I was raised Irish Catholic. What else could be talking to me? So let me tell you, if you think God's talking to you, your butt's moving.
You run, Tom.
And that's exactly what I did. You know, it was like, run, Forrest, run. This was run, Tommy, run. And I ran out of the back room into the kitchen, and just seeing the look on Graham, who was the grandmother, we called Graham, and Jane, who was the woman who actually watched the whole thing along with her grandmother. And the fear on their face put more fear in me. I was like out of there. And once I hit this area where there was a rock, everything went like in slow motion. And the thing that really got to me was all of a sudden there was like all these crickets, we call them the September crickets, and the noise just got sucked right out. It was gone. The noise was gone. And then this UFO just dropped right out of the sky.
Did it look, Tom, did it look like what science fiction writers have been writing for years? You know, kind of a disc-like object. Do you remember what it looked like, or what you...
I remember specifically what it looked like, because as a watercolor artist, I did a painting of it.
Yeah, I know you did, yeah.
And I did that because, you know, it was more like therapy for me, because the thing that caught my eye right away was there were colors I'd never seen before. I mean, you could say this is red, this is blue, this is purple, whatever, but these colors I'd never seen before. And it was like so close up. I mean, this was like really close.
And then you were actually, unlike others, and we'll get to, we got to talk about your book, we got to talk about the other people, but unlike the others, you were physically taking into the craft. What did you feel? I mean, and were you consciously aware, Tom, of what was happening to you?
It was so fast. It was like my arms jerked back and the air got sucked out of me, and then I'm there. The one thing I remember seeing right away was that I saw a girl off to my right that later on I identified as Melanie, who's in the show. And I do recall seeing other kids, but, you know, it was kind of foggy. You know, you'd see something and, you know, you're getting images, but it's going by so fast. And I saw what looked like a human alien hybrid. It looked like I saw an alien. And then I was fixated on a table and the lights that I was seeing in the room.
And did it hurt? Did you feel anything?
I didn't think about it at the time. I mean, it was like so surreal. I mean, you know, if you looked out your window and you saw like a 57 Chevy parked up in the air, you'd say, a what? You know, and you look up and there's Fidel Castro waving down. How you doing? You know, I mean, come on. I mean, this is a UFO. It's like, this thing was like 40 feet, 30 to 40 feet and over 20 feet tall. I mean, this wasn't no Piper Cub sitting out there, but it wasn't moving. The one thing, it was unbelievable because I could see just before all this happened, I could see that one part of the UFO was going in one direction, one part of it was going in the other. It was going in like 3 different directions, which was was just taking in the detail.
We have so many more questions. We're going to talk about Tom's book and more. So go get another cup of coffee. We'll be back right after this with more Tom. Unbelievable.
But I remember levitating, and then I remember being on a ship. I remember being laid out on it.
That's when I saw Melanie. It was the only face I remember. She just was crouched to my right.
I don't remember seeing him, but he said he remembers seeing my eyes, and that I was really scared.
The look of, oh my God, fear.
Yeah, I would have that look as well. Welcome back. That's Tom Warner, one of the people featured in the new Netflix show, Unsolved Mysteries. This particular episode about a UFO experience in the Berkshires area of Massachusetts in 1969. Tom joins us again. Tom, you didn't know Melanie before that moment, right, my friend?
No, not at all. Actually, the first time I saw Melanie, where I actually ID'd her, was my freshman year in high school. And I opened up one door and Melanie was coming the other direction. And I thought I was going to faint from fear when I saw her. It's just like, whoa. I knew who it was right away.
So you guys had not connected since that night?
No, we haven't connected till maybe two years ago. The whole process, people were starting to talk more and more about that night. And I had no intention of ever telling this story. It's like, I don't want to tell this story. And then I get one interview, another interview. And sooner or later, I got interviewed out of Boston, and then Unsolved Mysteries called me. But
well, Tom, I
Yes?
want to ask you about that, because you were not the only one, and forgive me, the one other than you, the other woman that really struck me was the woman, I believe she was 85 toward the end. And her quote at the end, kind of, and I'm paraphrasing, she was the one that made me believe, and I was kind of a believer anyway. She said, I am 85. Why would I make this up? But she talked about her apprehension. You just mentioned it too. What was the apprehension, Tom? Was it possible ridicule? Was it just you didn't want to go through having to explain this over and over again? Where did that apprehension come from?
Well, it actually started when I started talking about it to certain people, and then I think I was about 13 years old, and a priest said I had Satan in me, and that was it. I was done. I wasn't going to talk about it anymore. But then at 13, someone brought it up again. Total strangers brought it up to me. And I kind of just pushed the whole thing aside. And, I had a life as a soccer player, as an athlete. I had a life as an artist. So I had no intention of telling the story, but it slowly got told. And then I decided I was going to write a book. And one of the people who was a witness to this, who was not on the show, her family wasn't on the show, but witnessed it that night. She died 5 days before I could interview her. And I said, I have to write this story. And the reason I started writing my autobiography was to help others, because so many people feel, trapped in their own story where they just can't tell it. And I've been getting positive messages all over the world, thanking me for coming forward. So perhaps it's a good thing.
What is the attitude toward this experience, toward this story in your area, in the Berkshires? How is it looked upon?
I get a lot of people coming up and thanking me because it puts a good light on the Berkshires. It's a number of people saw it that night and they're thinking, thank you for coming forward. I feel, validated. And it was not easy coming forward. It wasn't easy for any of the people coming forward at all. After this happened, being on Unsolved Mysteries and Netflix, everyone recognizes me wherever I go now, everywhere. So it's like, but I knew that was going to happen, so I was prepared for that.
Well, when we come back, I want to talk about what happened after the episode started airing, what info you're hearing, people that are contacting you more. Our final minutes with Tom when we come back. Stay with us, everyone. show. We're talking live with Tom Warner, one of the people featured in the UFO episode of Netflix's Unsolved Mysteries. Tom, what did you think of the episode? I've said I think it's beautifully edited, beautifully shot. I think it's well done. What did you think of it?
I think the director, Marcus Clark, and the whole crew did an unbelievable job. Actually, what we did is we had it on a projector and put the projector onto a neighbor's barn where the UFO dropped me off, and then had a large speaker out there. And we had some friends who were, in the filming business in Hollywood and everything. And we had them over, and it was scary for me. And I was in it, I was like, wow, it was so well done. It really was. And it was very accurate telling the story. It really was.
But yet, obviously, because you're one of many stories in there, you were telling our producers, there's info, there's details that obviously they couldn't fit in there, right?
Oh, Lord, yes, absolutely. So
give us one. Give us a nugget of that maybe is your favorite that they didn't put in there. Is there an element of the experience or something that you find interesting that we didn't hear?
One that there were others, and the second one was 2 weeks later. I had a similar incident, and we just couldn't. The reason they did it is the Berkshire UFO, and that night that there were so many people who saw it. It was like a community. It wasn't just me. This isn't about me. This is about the subject of UFOs and what's out there. It's not about Tom Warner or Tom Reed or Melanie or anybody else. It's about the whole subject, and how I look at it is, at one point, everybody thought the earth was flat, and then they found out it wasn't. Well, since I was a kid, I'd be telling them there's other planets out there, and they'd look at me like I had lobsters crawling out of my ears, It's like, oh yeah, but no, they didn't want to hear it. And slowly this is coming forward, including, the government slowly coming forward, admitting some of these things. But
Is that one of the reasons you wanted to write the book? You mentioned in the first part of our conversation, Tom, it was kind of cathartic. You used a different word. Did the book really help even you process it after all these years?
Yeah, it really did. I mean, I had to do it because I had to come to terms with my life.
Yeah.
This is an event like, oh, I stubbed my toe or something here. This is crazy, but there was a purpose for it. There's a saying, there are no accidents. There's only appointments. And I had that appointment. I had an appointment, and I'm a messenger. And so I'm taking responsibility for that and coming forward so that others can come forward too. And the whole thing is, if humans are to expand out of our world, we have to be able to have that time to get there. And we have to do that by taking care of the planet. And that's one of my big messages is we have to take care of what we have here, including the people on this earth.
We're hearing a lot of headlines, and I knew this was going to happen. It's the power of Netflix, whether it's an unsolved crime or, in your case, just an interest in the subject matter. Tips are coming in. Leads are being followed because of Unsolved Mysteries. Have you been contacted by a lot of folks, Tom, that have had a similar experience?
A lot of similar experiences, which was really shocking to me. Like I'm saying, and some of them were on Air Force bases too. And I'm like, wow. And at one point, I even interviewed, in my book, I talk about that I interviewed an Air Force pilot who had a lockdown on a UFO, which is, it was bizarre.
Seriously?
Seriously. And he was thrown out of the Air Force because he wouldn't change his report. It was pretty emotional talking with him,
Are you happy this happened to you, Tom? Do you consider it, is it, or have there been moments in your life when it's been more of a burden?
I suppose it's a mixed blessing.
Yeah.
You're a messenger. You have a message to tell, so you have to tell it. And in many ways, I put things in my art, and that's why I did the painting. And, I was able to express myself through my art and poetry. But this platform came forward thanks to, Unsolved Mysteries, that they decided to tell the story. They flew out here from Los Angeles to our home here in the Berkshires, and they were stunned by the story. And they said, we have a story here to tell.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if I was on TV, whether I did the Unsolved Mysteries. I had to tell my book, and whoever read it, read it. And if I helped one person by writing a 57,000 word autobiography, then that's good, you know? And if I can make one person think, you know, that would be good.
Just to open up their mind to the possibility. I think that's what this show did. It did for me. I was, you know, a sort of believer, but you and everyone else featured, I just kept thinking to myself, why would you make this up? So, Tom, thanks for
why would you want to be on there? You know what they say? Listen to the angels, fly with the aliens.
Absolutely. Tom, thank you for being generous with your time with us. We greatly appreciate it, and thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me on and to discuss this complex subject matter.
Absolutely. Go get Tom's book, everyone. Thank you, Tom. And you can watch the Berkshire's UFO episode of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix right now. It is worth getting Netflix for, let me tell you. We're going to take a break. We'll be back to wrap things up with Kendall in just a few minutes. Solid C+, Brad. Solid C+. Welcome back. Don't forget, you can, you know, we don't have a studio audience right now, but until we do, we still want to stay connected with you, and we can do that via social media. It's safe. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to search for Jason Show TV. And don't forget about our YouTube channel as well. We post each day's episodes on our YouTube channel. I know we love this. A lot of you watch it during the weekday. During work day, we don't care. Your boss doesn't care. You can just search for Jason Show TV and hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for your support. When we come back, Kendall is back. She's back in studio. So we actually get to look at each other when we return right after this. I see you, Kendall. Welcome back to the show. Wrapping things up on this Monday, kicking off crazy Zoom. Kendall joins me again. By the way, congratulate Nicki Minaj is pregnant. I just read that on the Twitter machine.
That's for real? Someone got pregnant. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Nicki, for giving us a story. We appreciate it. But
appreciate it.
So I had an epiphany in that commercial break.
An epiphany?
That's an epiphany in a shopping mall about the UFO thing. Now, people are skeptics. Jeff and I were talking. You know, if one person named Verna is like, I was walking in a field and I was abducted and these little green people probed me, then I would be like, Verna, you're lying, and put down the Jack Daniels maybe. But when there's an entire town, this is why I believe this story. An entire town saw the same thing.
Right.
And here's my point. You can't get 7 people to agree on what to have for dinner, let alone getting all of them to lie the same.
Right.
You know, that's
that don't know each other.
No.
None of them know each other.
That's why I heard a really interesting thing about like conspiracy theories, and they specifically mentioned the moon landing. And they said, you know, people think that was a conspiracy theory, but they did the research. In order for that to have been a fake, 200,000 people would have had to have lied. You know, degrees of separation.
Right.
And I never thought about conspiracy theories like that. You can't get everybody to keep their mouth shut about, you know, Tony's surprise party, let alone. So my point being, I believe this. Do you believe the story?
I do. It's so almost, this is going to sound weird, but almost like wacky.
Yeah.
That you're like, how could you all make this up?
Exactly.
I mean, and there are things that we just can't explain.
We can't.
We just can't.
Like producer Ted. You just can't explain.
We just can't explain.
No, I just mean he's so unique and lovely. I mean, you know.
He meant that in a really kind way.
I meant it in the Director Leo. Who can explain that? You know, who can explain the only thing that can snap him out of anything is watching shuffle. What is it? Curling.
Shuffleboard.
You know what I mean? Shuffleboard. Maybe Leo was dropped here. Was he born in 1969? Maybe Leo was what they left here. They ET'd Leo here in 1969.
Leo's an alien.
That's right. That's why he's.
Explains
I'm one
everything.
week back and I'm already making fun of the staff. Anyway, tomorrow on the show, it's back. Producer Ted's Hallmark Christmas movie reviews of 2020. It's Christmas in July, y'all. Plus simple vegan recipes you can make for the family with Coco and Lala. I love them. Join us tomorrow. But right now, that's going to do it for us. Kendall, I love you. It's good to have you back. It's good to have you back as well. If you're a kid that's being bullied, go out there and be yourself because nobody can tell you you're doing it wrong. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. That's a B right there. B plus, Brad.